NATO, US and Germany are set to discuss Ukraine's needs for more weapons. The alliance's Secretary General said the only way to a negotiated peace is to give Ukraine support. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern shocks the world by announcing her surprise resignation from office.
Trains and flights have been cancelled across France as thousands of workers strike against a controversial pension reform, bringing various industries to a halt.
Ukraine is in need of more weapons and more military hardware. The war-ravaged country's Western backers are to meet later this week in Germany to discuss ways to meet Ukraine's needs in its fight against Russia. NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Wednesday, said the only way to a negotiated peace is to give Ukraine support.
Weapons, they are the way to peace, and that may sound like a paradox, but the only way to have a negotiated agreement is to convince President Putin that he will not win on the battlefield.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is key to the supply of modern Leopard 2 tanks, top of Ukraine's wish list. Scholz has veto power over any decision to send the German-made military vehicle tanks. It's now being reported he will allow their exports to Ukraine if the United States agrees to send its own tanks. At Davos, he strongly underlined Germany's support for Ukraine.
We will continue to do this as long as necessary. And whilst we are doing this and showing that the Ukrainians can rely on our support for their courageous fight, it is also clear that we will avoid that this is becoming a war between Russia and NATO.
The supply of tanks is set to be at the top of the agenda at Friday's meeting of the so-called Ukrainian contact group at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. Donors of military aid to Ukraine are meeting in Estonia today.
With a hug from her fiancé Clark Gayford, New Zealand's Prime Minister was clearly relieved to have announced she plans to step down next month. Jacinda Ardern says her family fully support her decision. The Labour politician became New Zealand's leader in 2017 and has become a respected progressive politician on the international stage. At home, her response to the Christchurch terror attacks on Muslims was praised and respected for her initial tough response to the pandemic, though strict restrictions weren't universally popular.
As a business owner, this is a wonderful day. The restrictions and the extra compliance and the extra tax of business that has happened, and especially staffing levels with us no immigrants, we've left us all short.
I think she was an excellent leader, and I'm devastated that she's resigning.
She's had a pretty tough ride. It's been a daunting task with COVID coming out of the blue like it has, plus the terrorism attacks in Christchurch.
I think we'll call it a day.
She'll stay as Prime Minister until February the 7th and plans to remain in Parliament until the autumn.
French workers are saying no to President Emmanuel Macron's controversial pension reform. Tens of thousands are protesting against government plans to raise the retirement age by 2 years to 64. From Marseille to Lille and the capital Paris, strikes and marches across the country have brought various industries to a halt.
We have to acknowledge the exceptional nature of the trade union unity that gives us a considerable strength. There are no cracks between us. This is one of the first times it has happened in 15 to 20 years.
Energy providers say the strikes have led to a substantial fall in output and are impacting deliveries from refineries. The stoppages are a major test for Macron, who says his pension reform is vital to ensure the system does not go bust. But unions argue there are other ways to ensure its viability. A deadly stampede has broken out at a football stadium in Iraq. just hours before the Gulf Cup final between the host country and Oman. Long banned from hosting international football matches, war-torn Iraq had been counting on the tournament to burnish its image, but has already been forced to apologise for organisational lapses. Thousands of fans, many without tickets, had gathered outside the stadium in the southern city of Basra since dawn. Local reports say the turnstiles were still closed when the stampede broke out. The tournament started earlier this month with 6 teams from Gulf Cooperation Council countries. It's the first time since 1979 Baghdad has hosted the Gulf Cup.
Bosnians are using their experience of the war in the Balkans to help Ukrainians survive the consequences of the Russian invasion. One thing they have a lot of experience of in the city of Gorazda is generating electricity when they're cut off from the national grid. Over 30 years ago, on the banks of the River Drina, Bosnians used to use homemade generators to supply power when the lights went out due to the war. They would use anything they could scavenge from old vehicles and equipment found in bombed-out factories. Now, as Russia continues to strike at the heart of Ukrainian infrastructure, they're passing all their knowledge on to the people in the same position to help reduce the impact. We had no drawings. There was no time for that at the time. We made everything in our heads. It was a difficult time, but our morale was high. Gorazda's regional governor said friends and acquaintances who work for the European Union's mission to Bosnia, based in Sarajevo, contacted him late last year, seeking information for a humanitarian effort to provide Ukrainians with an alternative source of electricity. In the 5 or 6 days we collected everything we could find. We even put it out on the radio and asked people to help. We sent everything to the EU, and they've already shared it with Ukraine. Gorazda was under siege by Serbs for a long time. Residents suffered continual sniper and artillery attacks. The mini power plants became a symbol of their resistance and determination. The town held out and became the only enclave in eastern Bosnia never to have been occupied by Serb forces.
Iron Butterflies is a Ukrainian feature about the downing of Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 in July 2014. The passenger plane was flying over the Donbass in eastern Ukraine, a region occupied by pro-Russian separatists. Director Roman Lubiy spoke to Euronews from Warsaw before heading to the Sundance Film Festival in the United States for the film's premiere.
This film reflects many things. It's not just about this event, the downing, but also about all the consequences, and also it reflects how this event changing the informational and media ecosystem of the world.
Russian propaganda at the time rejected any involvement, already denouncing a plot against it. A kaleidoscopic film with multiple points of view, but all coming to the same conclusion. It was a Russian missile, fired accidentally or not, that destroyed the plane flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, one of the most complex, killing everyone on board. A crime in a war that had already begun, without saying its name.
Really important to talk about this now that war didn't start in 2022. That was called hybrid war, right? What is black and what is white was mixed, and it was really hard to talk about it. And now, whole world understand who is the criminal.
After its world premiere at Sundance, the film will have its European premiere at the Berlinale, which opens on the 16th of February. The project is produced by Babylon 13, the association of independent filmmakers formed after Maidan and the 2013 Dignity Revolution.